technology as at the forefront of next-gen content carriers. PS3 games obviously will all be on BD25 to start with, and developers from early next year will be able to take advantage of the BD50 for their titles as well. So that's really showing how related businesses affect our business and how we have to move with those trends as well. But in the games business, we're coming to another transition, and there is a strained transition. The transition between the current gen and the next gen is predictably challenging. But the saying no pain, no gain rings true to all involved in the business: hardware manufacturers, game developers, and publishers alike. Pretty much it's a question of investment. Just like for PS1 and PS2, it will take time for developers to get to grips with the power and technology of PS3, specifically the power of the cell processor at the heart of the PS3. But as proven with PS1 and PS2, the latent opportunity is what provides the developers the headroom for expansion in later years. This level of development investment in time and resource can only be committed where content providers believe that the platform will deliver the technical headroom and, at the end of the day, the long tail and global mass market in sales terms. This is why PS1 sold over 100 million units worldwide, and why PS2 continues to be the #1 selling console worldwide in its 6th year, and has already overtaken the number that PS1 installed in its life cycle. Next gen is a question of investment, and developers and publishers will require strong returns from existing technologies to fuel development of the next gen content. This point was illustrated recently in the Sony Corp results. I'm going to take an opportunity here to be a bit edgy, but you probably saw this statement which in the presence. The game segment, that's effectively Sony Computer Entertainment, will record a loss of 200 billion yen this year. And that's Sony Corp official statement. Now that equates to about £1 billion or 2.3 billion Aussie dollars. The fact is, this is the cost of delivering cutting-edge next-gen technologies for Sony to the industry, and it's the hardware business model of the previous platforms as well. And very much this graph sort of illustrates the fact that this is not unplanned, and the illustration shows you how platforms move from an investment cycle, which is the losses below the line, to a profitable cycle in their life cycle. And hopefully PS3 will do something like that. And we're probably in the solid blue line going down at the moment, expecting to have the dots coming back up again. But the reason for communicating this to you today is that we believe, this is a conscious decision by Sony. It's not something that's just happening. And it's the realities of cost of business in the industry and investment in the development time and resource to achieve the high-end results at the cutting edge. What it basically comes down to is Sony is investing in the best technologies to produce the most compelling and innovative products in the future, and it will require similar commitment and faith in the platform, which is, we believe, best positioned to realise the ambition of long-term return on investment and what the real true next generation would be. So, it was mentioned a bit earlier when I asked the audience what they thought about the next gen, and of course something that comes up quite often is next gen online. But I thought I'd take an opportunity to talk about online in a wider sense. Everyone is familiar with today's experience of playing online games. The mission for next gen, we believe in this space, is to create entertainment activities that inspire those who currently spectate or interact with directly changing and influencing this space, with possibly the creation of future-thinking products and features and services. It's pretty much a shift away from just gaming online to a focus on interaction online. One of the things that you'll see on the right-hand side here is that if you take that, you're moving from a sort of quite a fragmented sort of like philosophy to something which is very integrated and participatory and around communities and entertainment that is just more than games. The way to actually say this is community-generated content. Populating the environments with user-generated material is also a big part of this opportunity. The popularity of user-generated content on YouTube and MySpace are perfect examples of communities coming together and going online for fun and entertainment, and also to share content that is specific to them. The push services from above are having to compete with this time in today's new wave of digital consumers who prefer to create their own custom programming that are bound by the dictate of downpipe delivery. So it's very much a key focus, I think, of where the next-gen online element will be, which is very much the consumer populating the environment. And in fact, for PS3 on the PlayStation Store, this will be a key feature. This is just a screenshot from the PlayStation Store. But it will be shown that there will be more than just games, but also the way you will sort it, whether it be movies or actual user-generated content, would possibly be available to even sell on the store. And in a way, it takes us away a little bit from the current business model of how a game gets to market. And here you have obviously the publisher process. The developer usually gives it to the publisher, goes through disc manufacturing, through distribution, through retail to the consumer, and there's profit taken across the whole point. And now, if you're really lucky, the retailer then also resells it, the consumer sells it back to the retailer, and they have a nice little self-generating disc-based business and profit at the top of the chain. And the creators don't necessarily share in that. And the creative developers could potentially be looking at this model going forward. I think it's a key shift of how we potentially see the future of the whole supply chain, if you call it that. And the creator of the online content at the bottom could have a parallel process with the consumer, and it could share the first part of the title being on disk. It could be just distributed online in its entirety. That depends to a certain extent on the size of the game, the type of game, and how you want to deliver the product. An episode of games might be, for instance, on a disk to start with, and extensions might be just as downloads. But the key thing here is it allows also the developer to feed off those profits directly. There's an increasing hunger for HD services and entertainment. But I think there is actually 4 big trends which I really want to focus on. The ability to play games connect to both TV and broadband HD, but most of all having the processing power to simulate and deliver real next-gen entertainment, and then easily manage to install this content is a key factor. But as better graphics become the norm, it is not necessarily the silicon or the technology that will solely determine the success, although it has its obvious part to play. It will be the compelling and entertaining gameplay that will engage the widest communities that will move the business forward. In the current gen, it is somewhat acceptable for behaviours and reactions to sometimes be unrealistic. This is simply because the players are not necessarily able to break through the belief barrier that what they are doing is anything than just playing a computer game. As next-gen hardware can richly simulate real worlds, as we saw in the demo as well, games will need to evolve to provide unique experiences to the player, and developers will need to target much more resource into focusing on natural and consistently believable reactions with less predictability in gameplay design. The media hub, if you want to call it that, in the home is a reality. The PS3 with Blu-ray in combination with expandable storage for game content and storing of video, music, photos, etc. is there. The web interfaces that allow you to simply surf or interact online and download content and access this content on other devices and remotely is there. Computational innovation like Cell pushes the boundaries of what can be achieved in the future, which allows the gap between real events and realistic simulated events to become more or less indistinguishable to the consumer. Essentially, it is a complex task of making games behave and act and more believable in a consistent manner, and twinned with the depth of simulation that creates layer upon layer of simulation that can be peeled away like the skin of an onion. At each stage, maintaining the belief and the thorough living environments which people crave for. To create this realism is not an easy task, admittedly, and this is really the human engineering challenge that's been placed as a burden on developers and the game designers themselves. The measure of the person's ability to quickly determine signals in the game sent through other things than for instance, like facial expressions, a review